Maniac Beats.
Someone hit me with a question at the time they didn't know. If they want to make a difference, how far would it really go? In life, you get rewarded for every seed that you sow. So we're building a community to help to make them grow. I'm a Trinity-born, Brooklyn raised, Ghanaian from latter day. Always repping Africa, even when I'm not on the stage. I have to get back at you if you ain't riding on the wave. I'm all about Pan-Africa, the ancestors who paved the way. It's cool chillin' in NYC. How about them African children who went to bed hungry?
Hello, platform. This is Africans Leaving America. I am Afia Coomson, and I have a wonderful guest with me today. Could you please introduce yourself to the platform, sir?
Hello, sister. My name is Edwin Sheppard, and I am all the way live from Miami, Florida, 305 Dade County.
Yes, Dade County in the building.
Yeah.
So look, this is such a special interview today. This brother is doing some amazing things, and we're going to share them with you on this interview. So my first question would be, what made you want to travel to Africa, and what made you choose Botswana?
I'm really gonna do my best to make it short and sweet, because it's actually like a long story, so I don't want to like bore anyone. But I was actually in preparations to celebrate my 45th birthday. This was back in November of 2018. Okay. And my mother is from Haiti.
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting.
So I'm from my father's from the States. He's from Georgia, but my mom is from Haiti.
Okay.
So I hit up, about nine of the guys that I had my own podcast with back then. And I reached out to them and I was like, hey man, let's head to Haiti. Let's celebrate, my 45th birthday. So they was all game. All the fellas was like, we gonna make it happen. Let's do it. And I just so happened to be sitting down playing on my laptop and looking up airfare, which I always do. And it was for no particular reason. I just said, I wonder how much it'll cost to go to Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay.
There was no big choice or any reason. So I just went on and saw that the flights were relatively affordable. And I was like, oh, okay, man. So let me wait until a few weeks pass. Let me take care, a few bills. And if it's the airfare is the same price, I'm gonna go ahead and book the ticket to South Africa. So 2 weeks later came, the price didn't change. I went ahead, I booked my flight to South Africa. I hit up the fellas and I was like, hey fellas, change your plans. We're not gonna do Haiti. We're gonna do South Africa. And all the guys said no.
Really?
They all said no.
Wow.
They all said no. They were like, why Africa? Why so far? Haiti's only, 2 hours and change, or, less than 2 hours from Miami. And they all said no. None of them even thought about it. They all said, nah, I'm good. It's too far. I can't get those days. And I end up going to South Africa by myself.
Wow, what an experience.
Yeah.
So look, were you nervous going by yourself for the first time? How did you feel?
I wasn't nervous. I was a little antsy on what to expect.
Yeah.
When I land, I would pretty much say that my trip the year prior in 2017 to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, kind of allowed me to broaden my horizons and kind of prepared for me to travel there. So I'll say that travel experience kind of geared for me to arrive in South Africa, to just kind of say embrace the moment. So I did some heavy research on South Africa. I actually watched the Shaka Zulu, which I'm sure you remember.
Yeah,
but, I watched Shaka Zulu as a child. And so watching it as an adult and learning the history and the culture and the whole Zulu and just everything between the Zulus and the British before the British came to, Cape Town and KwaZulu and that whole area, it just really made me understand a lot more. And even, fast forward into their whole thing with the apartheid in the 90s and to where South Africa is now, it really opened my eyes. So now I'm going into this whole, instead of a whole birthday thing, it's now a cultural journey for me.
Yes, yes, yes. And when you say cultural journey, you are actually bringing kids from Botswana to here and bringing our kids to Africa. So that goes to my next question. Tell us about your Botswana project, past and present, because I remember us being in contact about it. I didn't know anything about your story, but once I got to know about it, I was so interested and intrigued, with you doing that. So tell us a little bit about what was your inspiration to do that.
Well, the inspiration came from that trip.
Yeah.
Prior to me going to South Africa, I documented my travels from Brazil on social media. Every day I just posted my top 3 pictures, and then I just gave a pretty much like documented my whole day. So I did day 1 all the way through day 7, because I spent 7 days, and so it got a lot of attention. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, I'm loving this. Now you make me want to go to Brazil." So to tie in the Botswana, a young lady by the name of Haone friended me on social media in 2017 and said, "Oh, I'm loving she followed the hashtag Brazil hashtag and saw my recent post, and she started to follow me." And I asked her, I said, "Where you're from?" And she said, "I'm from Botswana." And I'm like, I never heard of Botswana. Didn't know where it was at. Didn't know it was in Africa. I'm thinking somewhere in the West Indies, Caribbean. And she said, "I'm from Botswana." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Where's that?" She said, "It's in Africa." So I go ahead, I Google it. And I say, okay, you go to Google.
Right.
And so I go to Google and I see, okay, you guys are near South Africa. But she corrected me real quick. And she was very stern. She says, "We are not South Africa. We are our own country. We are Botswana." So I was like, "Oh, okay, my bad." But she was very, very adamant on making sure that I understood that Botswana and South Africa were separate countries. They weren't the same, because they're neighboring countries.
So what do they consider themselves as far as the destination? Because I mean, are they saying that they're east? They're not north. So they don't want to be distinguished as South Africa. Okay.
No, not at all. They're their own country. Their language is Setswana, which is also one of the official languages in South Africa. South Africa have 11 official languages. Okay. And Setswana being one of them. But that's how the whole Botswana thing came to be, because when I got ready to fly to South Africa, I was curious how much it would be to fly to Botswana. And so when I saw that it was cheap, because it was only an hour flight, 55 minutes to be exact, I was like, "Oh, okay." So I told her, I said, "Hey, I'm going to fly to Botswana, and she never thought in a million years that a guy that she met on Facebook that she would end up meeting in person. She never thought that. And that's pretty much how the Botswana and tying with the schools. Her daughter actually friended me and called me like dad. So she's like my adoptive daughter, Okay. So, for a lot of Africans, it's real big to befriend someone from the States or maybe the UK, but more than likely the States. And so her and her daughter befriended me. Her daughter calls me dad. And so when I decided that I was going to make the whole post on my experience, my mentor suggested that I document my travels through film. Yeah. And I know nothing about film. I didn't go to film school or anything like that. And I told him, I said, "I don't want to do it through film. I'd rather do it through pictures." So he really, really encouraged me and urged me to do it film. So I said, "I don't have no money to be buying any camera equipment." And he says, "Just put a GoFundMe. Everyone loves you. Put a GoFundMe." And I was like, okay. So I went ahead. I put a GoFundMe. The camera equipment, came up to about $3,000. He told me to put a GoFundMe for $5,000, and I end up raising $7,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. You
Yeah.
know, that's how you know that's destiny right there. Yeah.
And so I got all the equipment, and I named my film Blindfolded: How They Hid My Heritage from Me. And even though my roots are not from that region of Africa, I think the whole perception of Africa, with it being 53 to 54 countries, is that everyone perception, you have all these countries, but everyone label Africa as this one country, even it's a continent, but they label it as one. And so how we, you know, us being from the States, you know, we see these, oh, you know, you can sponsor a child, and then they show all this poor, desolate areas. And that's what we grew up knowing. And that's why we were so like afraid to even go to Africa. And that's why we had all these negative perceptions, the jungles, because that was pushed into us.
That was all we were taught.
We would watch TV. Like I was thinking, you know, I'm old school, so I used to watch Tarzan.
Yeah,
and
me
I used
too.
to remember Tarzan, the Africans dark with the bone in their nose, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to Africa. So, you know, with thanks to social media, and we're able to see Africa for really what it is. You know, that's what the whole thing, like I said, with Brazil and just tying everything. And so that's what I did. I raised the money. I filmed. I wanted to get the youth involved. I wanted to get pure dialogue from people from the States, as well as dialogue from people from South Africa and Botswana. So it was a really grassroots type of experience. Everyone that I reached out to in South Africa and Botswana were people I was literally just trying to find people of influence. I was just really searching and trolling people's pages, complete strangers. And they thought I was a scammer from the United States. And they were like, you know, this guy scamming. But I think when they saw my social media feed and everybody just coming on board and being part of the movement, they started to say, okay, I think this guy is like really for real. So I recorded it in 2018. I showed a premiere here in Miami to 300 people. In February of 2019. I also showed it in Ghana, and I showed it in Atlanta, Georgia, to about 100 people. And so that kind of kicked off when I left Ghana, because I wanted to, you know, hurry up and just get everything situated. But when I showed it in Ghana and came back home to the States, that's when I decided, okay, I think we're going to try and do this exchange, because we joked about it and said, hey, we should do an exchange, because the dialogue between the students of Miami Central and Leguman, which is located in Botswana, that's what gave the inspiration of doing it. And I was like, hey, we should do an exchange program, not knowing it would actually happen.
Wow.
And it did.
That's great. Like they look like they enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
you know,
they had a good time.
They had a good time.
They had a good time.
And, you know, it really shows them that, you know, we have a lot in common. You know, we're not so different. We are not. You know, we are just brothers and sisters, cousins, uncles, aunties that have been separated for hundreds of years. You know, when you go to Africa, any country, you're going to see somebody that looks like your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, you know. So, it's sad that it took us this long to come back together, but of course we all know why. You know, they have been dividing and conquering us for hundreds of years, you know, and they don't want us to come back together, you know, but thank God for social media, we are able to see the truth.
Exactly.
You know, and so how was it with your students coming to Botswana from the States? How did that go?
Oh, you know what? It was a hassle raising funds. I can tell you that much. I raised $42,000. And I did it behind the same phone that I'm speaking behind. I just got on social media and just asked people for money to help, you know, make this a reality. And then we called it the Village to Village Exchange-a-thon, and people were really, really donating money. And so we were able to pull it off. The students, unfortunately, the original students who were supposed to come down, they were not able to come because of the whole visa thing had put a delay on it. So by the time they were able to, figure out the visa situation, it was time for them to graduate.
Okay.
Yeah. So they couldn't participate. So they had to choose the junior class. And so it was a whole bunch of students that I didn't know. They weren't part of my film. And I had built this wonderful relationship with the students that I filmed. And so they were heartbroken.
Yeah.
And these things happen, to tell young people that they're coming to America, and then to tell them they're not coming to America, we're choosing another class.
Yeah.
They were heartbroken. I was heartbroken. But, we still had to continue with the initiative of we've already raised a certain amount of money, so we couldn't stop. And so we brought these students down, and it took about 3 to 4 days for me to get acclimated with them. But now they're my children. I love them all to death. And so when they came down, it was just an amazing experience. They were partnered with student liaisons, so they pretty much partnered them with students that had the same subject, because what we did is whatever subject that they had in school in Botswana, we made sure they had the same subject when they were here in Miami.
Okay.
And so basically they had their class, they came, they have their school ID, they was able to get that, and they got a sheet just like any regular student, in Dade County, and went to class, and they had to partner. And I was really scared because, I didn't want them to be bullied. I didn't want, American students, especially in the inner city, they can be a little hard.
Yeah, they can be a little rough.
It can be a little rough. And that was my fear, because I was like, man, I'm hoping that they don't say anything ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or ask an ignorant question.
Exactly. And you know what? They didn't.
Wow. They were on their best behavior.
They treated those students, they were rock stars when they got to the school. And there were so many other kids just wanting to see them, ask them questions about the country, ask them questions if they like the school. And they just had an overwhelming experience. And they told me, I didn't have any bad stories or anything that they said that, oh, well, we didn't like the way this and this. They just said they were overwhelmed with how many people wanted to speak with them and see them and talk to them, because they had these African students in their school. So that made me feel proud, because I'm an alumni of Miami Central Senior High. So that made me feel bad. That made me feel amazing that they were able to experience that with their counterparts, being the same age as them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how was the visa process getting them here? Because I mean, you had a lot of students. So how was that? What's the process?
The visa process, thank God, is not up to me. I do not handle that whatsoever.
Okay.
That is something that they have to handle. That was their responsibility.
Okay.
They had to get their visas. They also had to pay for their visas, because we were raising such a large amount for their airfare and their hotel accommodations and food, that we felt that at the least that they can do is, have their passports and have their visas. So it was not a headache for me. It was a headache for my board, one of my board members, Tatiani Kwadzi, who's a teacher there and also a basketball coach at the school.
Okay.
And he told me it was a nightmare for him. Nightmare for him, not for me.
Right,
but,
right.
it did take a long process, so long, as stated earlier, that the senior class could not go because it was just a long, tedious process.
Yeah.
That they were bumped out, and then they had to bring another complete group of students in.
Okay. Well, I'm glad they enjoyed themselves, because we want them to feel comfortable, just like they make us feel comfortable when we come to Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know anyone that has had a bad experience going to Africa. African Americans, when we go to Africa, we enjoy. They embrace us with love, understanding. we do not go through anything as far as like, racism, it's all love. And that's why some of us are so depressed when we come back to the States after going to Africa.
Exactly.
You really are depressed.
Yeah.
So what was your perspective on going to South Africa this last time? Because you've been a couple of times, but so does each time get a little bit, more exciting? Do you learn more with each trip? So how is your perspective on that?
The last couple of trips, I haven't had the opportunity to learn as much because there's so much business involved. It's almost like the last few trips, it was definitely business. So I really haven't had the opportunity to like indulge into the culture as much as I like because of all the meetings and stuff. So I feel like I'm home, being in all the meetings, in person, signing contracts, going home and getting some rest. But one thing that I will say, and I'll go to my first trip, when I landed in South Africa, I was just amazed how many people who wasn't us that was going to South Africa. And I know there's a lot of Caucasian white people that's traveling there, but it was like my plane was just full of them, and it wasn't many of us. So I always get this question, why are you going to Africa? And and I really think that they don't want us to experience our own culture. I don't think they want us to merge with Africans and just see and just partner and do great things together. I truly believe that, because they'll say, oh, well, why are you going there? They'll look, but when I look and I see everybody coming in there and it's not us, you have to question that. And to travel to certain parts of Botswana, it blows me away when people say you're the first Black American I've ever met. And I got that on my trip in November, and it's like, and even in South Africa, they, Blacks visit South Africa, but not in the droves as they would Ghana, and so I've met people from South Africa, big metropolitan city, and they're surprised when they meet
beautiful.
Black
South
American.
Africa's beautiful.
Yeah. And they'll say, we don't see too many of you guys. It's very rare. They'll see a lot of people from the UK, but from the States, it's very rare to see someone who's an African American in South Africa. So I think, just having that opportunity to learn their culture, and for me to teach their culture, and for them to learn a little bit about what we went through with the whole, the slave trade and stuff like that, because they're only the education, people who's in education, they know about that. But if they're really not into American education or American history, they don't know about the slave trade.
They don't.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm a history buff, if I'm not mistaken, I think I want to say 2 or 3 ships left from that southern region, but the most ships left from that western region. So they're very the knowledge on that is very little when it comes to that. And so I actually Haone, when I spoke to Haone and I said African Americans, she said, "What is that?" That when I said African Americans, she said, "What is that?" She said, "I've never heard of that." She said, "I know what a Black American is, but I don't know what an African American is." Yeah.
And you see the stereotype that has been put on us. I interviewed a girl from the States. She's living in Tanzania now. She just recently moved to Zanzibar. They wondered why she was speaking a white man language. They was like, "Why are you our color and you're speaking a white man's language?" And they didn't know anything about the slave trade either. So a lot of them do not, especially the ones from like the East and the South,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
The West, they know because we come from the West. Majority of us do come from the West.
Yeah.
But yeah, the East and the South, they really don't know because it wasn't taught to them in school like it's been taught in West Africa per se. We got to do better as African Americans, you know.
We do.
We have to do better. We have to stop going to these Asian countries, you know, visiting everywhere else but Africa. You know, Africa's home, you know, and
Yes,
brother, that's why this platform was created, to bridge the gap. You know, when I went to Ghana, I just couldn't believe how they lied to us, you know, and it's sad because African Americans, I mean, you really don't know any better. You know, you just go off of what you've been taught, you know, what you've seen on TV, and you just leave it at that. You know, I was one of the first people to go to Africa in my family, and now I am the gateway, you know, so whenever they want to go to Africa, they holler at your girl, you know? So I'm going to ask you this last question because we're getting ready to wrap it up. What would you tell
that was fast.
I know, right? I know 30 minutes go by so quick. I can talk for so much longer than this. This is such a touchy subject, you know, especially what you're doing, brother, because you are doing a lot for our children, you know. And it does start with them because they are the future. So they'll be able to tell their children, you know, or even maybe move to Africa and raise their children there, you know. So what would you tell the diaspora about going to South Africa?
You know, I would tell the diaspora to travel, to go to Joburg, see the culture. You can see some of the same culture in Cape Town, but I like the feel of Johannesburg. I love the culture that they have. They are even with the large population of different Africans, because when you go there, it's a huge melting pot. So you have to go to certain areas that actually find people from South Africa. You'll meet people from Zimbabwe, from Botswana, from Namibia. You'll meet everyone from the surround, even people from Ghana, because a lot of them come for work in Johannesburg, you know, during what they will call the busy season. So it's definitely a melting pot, and they definitely have to experience. It has all of the culture, all of the city, and all of the villages outside, and just the scenery itself is absolutely amazing.
And do you see yourself moving to Africa in the future?
Yeah, yes, I do. The only reason why I'm not living there now because I have 2 grandsons, and I just can't leave them. They're my boys. So that's the only reason why I'm here and I'm not there right now.
But I tell you what, one day they'll be there with you.
Yes, they will.
You know, because you are the gateway. You know, you are the gateway to Africa with your family. You know. And they see all the wonderful things that you are doing, you know, hey, they will be there as well.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for this, brother. Okay. This is Africans Leaving America. Check out Mr. Edwin Sheppard on Facebook. You can see his journey. How can we get your movie so we can watch the documentary? How can we go about that?
I really need to put the movie up on the website.
Yes.
You know, if you would like, I can email it to you and just you alone so you can see it for your view. But I haven't put it out. I'm getting ready to finally put it in a few film festivals because everyone's encouraging me to, and I've just been so bombarded. But I can definitely email that to you for your viewing pleasure.
Yes.
Yes.
I would appreciate that. I really want to check it out, brother.
I will make that happen. Do I have room for a quick shout out?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, so real quick, if for you guys who want to follow me, it is Edwin Shepherd, EDWIN, and that's SHEPP as in Paul ARD. I'm on social media feeds on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, spelled the way that it should be spelled, Edwin Shepherd. And if you want to make a contribution towards the BICEP initiative, it is Blindfolded International Student and Cultural Exchange Program. Our website is bicep.org. That's BICEP.org. You can make your contributions. We are a nonprofit organization, and your contributions are tax deductible. Or you can simply make a contribution via our Cash App, which is the $ and Bicep, BISCEP. And that's pretty much it. I want to give a quick shout out to our group. We have a group called Africa Bound 2022. The film Blindfolded and this cultural exchange has created a bit of a movement. So I want to give a shout out to everybody. We have a group of 40 people that's traveling to Botswana in July. So we're really, really excited about that. And they are too. So shout out to them.
That's great, brother. Keep up the good work. Keep on bridging this gap, showing people that Africa's home. It's not a jungle. And hey, we are coming. We are coming like the Exodus, you know? Mm-hmm. Hey, it's people moving to Africa every day from America. Yeah, so, hey, we're just going to keep on showing these interviews. We're going to keep on showing, you know, the experiences, and we're going to keep on bridging this gap.
Exactly.
Well, I will make sure I put everything in the description box, your email, your group, and everything of that nature. And I want to urge people to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook at Africans Leaving America. And we are signing out. You have a wonderful evening, brother. Thank you for the experience.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Maniac B. Someone hit me with a question at the time they didn't know. If they want to make a difference, how far would it really go? In life, you get rewarded for every seed that you sow. So we're building a community to help to make them grow. I'm a Trini born, Brooklyn raised, Ghanaian from latter day. Always repping Africa, even when I'm not on the stage. I have to get back at you if you ain't riding on the wave. I'm all about Pan-Africa, the ancestors who paved the way. It's cool chillin' in NYC. How about them African children who went to bed hungry?